Hi, my name is Nathan McInerney. Welcome to episode 22 of Press YYZ. You can follow us on Twitter at Press YYZ if you want information about the show. We film live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at twitch.tv Press YYZ in front of a live digital audience. I'm your host. I've got several people with me here today. They're all new. I'm going to introduce them to you. We've got Mitch. Mitch, welcome to the podcast for the first time.
Believe victims.
Hello, Mitch.
And then we've got AJ. AJ, how are you doing?
It's so good, guys. The game is so good.
Your guitar is broken.
Yeah, it's not tuned very well.
Did the game teach you nothing?
What game are we talking about?
Just move on. It's okay. We'll get to it, I'm sure.
We've got Cozy. Cozy, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I don't really I'm pretty much just room temperature of the man right now.
Okay. And finally, Alex Ballant. How are you doing?
Hello.
This fine
You wanted to know what game we were talking about? We're talking about The Last of Us Part 2.
Is that a big game?
Yeah,
Are
it's
people
this little
playing that?
indie title. People are
That's
excited about it.
It's
I've never heard
sold-
like that.
Yeah, it sold a lot of copies in its first couple of weeks being available.
Well, it's only been available for 5 days, but
I was playing it up for the listening audience who doesn't get this show until the end of the week. Come on.
fair enough.
Then
I
it
guess.
would have been out for 1 week.
Yeah,
Who
I don't.
either way,
I don't
you're
math
wrong.
well, I'm sorry.
Who
I'm
here
sorry,
at the
guys? I've been staying up real late to play The Last of Us almost every night.
So I'm going to just take a guess when we're talking about what you guys are playing. I'm going to assume a bunch of y'all have played The Last of Us Part 2. Is that the case?
Yes.
I think everyone
That's a
here
good
other than
guess.
you has been playing The Last of Us Part 2.
I have not played it yet.
Okay. So
All right, then.
You're fired.
we have a spoiler
You
cast
can't.
coming up.
I can turn off the stream then.
No, please don't do that.
We have a spoiler cast coming up, so I don't want to spend too much time on it right now. I just want to get the quick. Alex, you've beaten it twice, or you've platinumed it.
I
right?
finished the game twice, and I have platinumed it. You are correct.
Okay, and
Yeah.
AJ,
In less
you've
than a week. What the hell's wrong with you?
you've
I
beaten
had-
it, AJ.
Nothing
yeah,
but time.
I played all the way through it. I binged it all this weekend, and I thoroughly enjoyed every moment of it.
Okay,
Yes.
Yeah,
Mitch, how far are you in?
Well, I spent this past weekend spending some time with my family now that COVID restrictions are starting
That's
to loosen a
overrated
little bit in
anyway.
Ontario. Spending time with family is never overrated unless it's your racist uncle. I would say I was talking with AJ a little bit about this offline. AJ, what would you think? I'm maybe 60%
You're a little- yeah,
of the
you're
way
a little
through.
over halfway.
70?
Yeah, you're over halfway for sure.
I'm planning to get it done before the next episode we record.
Yeah.
Minimum.
All right, perfect.
Really quick, for those of us who have played it, how do you feel as ignoring the story and spoilers? How do you feel as a game and gameplay?
It is infinitely better than the first one.
Yes.
On a
It's a
game level, it is amazing. The combat is quick, it's brutal as hell,
Mhm.
and also just all the mechanics. There's this really good Greg Miller from Kind of Funny has talked about how it's every encounter you get in combat wise, you always feel like you're on the edge constantly of running out of bullets, running out of resources, running out of health, and you just barely slip by every single time. And I think it perfectly encapsulates the theme of The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah, I echo a lot of that. I think the game mechanically is spectacular. I've never seen or played a game that feels quite like this. The fact that people may call this light spoilers, but it's just a mechanic in the game. There are safes in the game.
Oh, the safe.
It's a collectible.
There's a
collectible.
collectible in the game. Yeah.
See, I was
You
concerned for a second there of oh my god, are you going to spoil something really major? And it's I've heard about
There were
the safes.
safes
I
in the
feel
first
No,
one.
I've
as
heard about
well.
safes
Yes.
more than anything else about this game over the past
fact
week.
that
I feel.
you can crack the safe just on sound alone. There are hints everywhere as to what the combinations to these safes are, but there have been a couple times where I haven't found those, but I've run into the safe and I've spent the time to listen for the pins drop in these safes, and every little noise in the game has a purpose. Every every
Ooh.
dialogue line has a purpose. Every note you find, like there's a purpose behind everything you can potentially find in this game, and it's I've never seen another game do anything near this.
That pisses me off because I never even thought to use the sound of the safe and pins dropping. And I don't know if I found every safe specifically, but I didn't get the achievement. I know there was one in particular.
Let's not get too deep into
it. We're not going to get deep at all into that. There was one that I just could not figure out what the clue was trying to lead me towards. And I was just you know what? I'm sorry, I slammed my guitar.
I thought you were going to strum another song.
Yeah, almost. I'm gonna put that.
I feel like the only thing he knows is smoke on the water.
Yeah, I knew "You Are My Sunshine" at one point, but yeah. But yeah, no. Combat wise and everything, I like it. Yes, it does feel really good, but I think my one criticism of it would be the stealth aspect of the game. And like, so Blessing mentioned that he Blessing Adeoye Jr. on Kinda Funny. He mentioned in the review, and I think in the spoiler cast, specifically, like he felt like the encounters that he was having, he was pushed up to the edge and everything, but he felt like at a certain point there was opportunity to escape and dodge and avoid the encounter at a certain point. And I never felt that. I always felt like, specifically, like the game wanted me to clear out all the enemies before I moved on, right? And it was a little bit off-putting when you'd get to that exit of whatever stage, and like you go through a door, and suddenly like your character, who just spent 5 minutes in this empty arena looking for any secrets, is like panicking, trying to close the door and lock it behind them because somebody's right on their ass. Which, in my experience, was never the case, because I never felt
there's
like
some
it was
ludonarrative dissonance.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was at least a couple, like everyone's experience is going to be different. There were at least 2 encounters that I can remember that I either ran through because I felt like I was going to be overwhelmed and just got to the objective and moved on, or there was a stealth way to get around everything, and that's what I did.
Okay.
So everyone's going to approach it differently, right?
Yeah, I just had a hard time finding the stealth path through these encounters.
It wasn't always stealth. I'm going to say that.
Yeah, which
was just
really confusing.
You are not going to get through this.
And eventually I just was like, you know what, fuck it. I'm just going to go over here and try and pick people off. And then when they find me, I'm going to run to the other side of the map and pick people off until they're all gone.
Okay. Let's put a pin in this then, and we'll come back.
I just wanted to one more thing, just with the platinum. It is such a great list. I absolutely loved it. It's basically just beat the game. There's no difficulty trophies, and get all the collectibles.
But how are the multiplayer trophies?
Oh, I mean, they were tough, but I managed to get through them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just gotta say,
I mean, you're not wrong. You got all the multiplayer trophies, technically.
There are no multiplayer trophies. There's no multiplayer in The Last of Us Part 2. For the people who are listening and aren't sold on it, that's part of the game, and Nathan is just being funny.
Yeah.
Yes,
but it's a great list, especially compared to the first game.
I just know people complain about the multiplayer trophies in the first game. So, anyways, so that's great. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. One of these days, I should get around to playing the first one, and then maybe I'll play the second one.
Yeah, absolutely, do it.
It's pretty solid.
Yeah. I've heard good things. Believe it or not.
Still holds up.
They're pretty good.
Yeah, I spent a little bit of time this week playing Persona 5 Royale. It's a good game.
How far are you? Which palace are you on?
Just finished the second palace.
Okay.
So I'm not like diving, like I don't want to. When I played the first one, I just like played 120 hours of it straight, and like I want to space it out a little more. So I'm still waiting for him to get his calling. No, I beat the boss, the Madarame, but now I'm just waiting for the time limit to hit.
Okay. See, so I also have been playing Persona 5, just trying to do the catch up back to the point where I can start getting to the new content. And I just finished the 4th palace, which is Futaba's.
Oh yeah, Futabas.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
So yeah, like it's still great. I mean, it's really nice just speed running through it. I've also been, because I've been trying to speed run it and I don't really care about like sitting down and playing it, I've actually been taking advantage of PlayStation Remote Play, which
Ooh,
surprisingly works way better than I'd expect. I've been playing like so.
What are you playing the remote play on? Phone, Vita?
I've done it on
laptop?
both my iPhone X and my laptop, like my
Okay.
MacBook.
Yep.
So the thing is also my PS4 is on a Wi-Fi connection as well. So the fact that it's working as well as it is, connecting over Wi-Fi to another device connecting over Wi-Fi, is kind of astounding. I've also now done it in a completely different house as well. Just like trying to see like how far I could push it. Here's the thing, is I can tell that there's the input lag. It's pretty noticeable. But with a game like Persona, it almost doesn't really matter. So it's been a really, really cool experience. And more than anything, I just kind of like the niche, like, oh, this is dope that I don't have to sit at my TV and play this.
I played
I
played a little Death Stranding that way, and the two connections that I had, I didn't notice any of that lag, and he just disappeared.
I don't know what happened.
Well, I mean, at least you're still there. I wanted to.
He's sort of still there. Go ahead, Cozy.
I can still hear you guys.
Okay, well, I wanted to ask you, like, spoiler free as possible, how would you say that Persona 5 Royal compares with The Last of Us?
That's a juxtaposition.
That's a really interesting comparison.
Because, like, it is. It's fortuitous that right now you so happen to be playing both of those games side by side with each other.
Yeah. It is kind of like, I do get a sense, like, it's nice having the direct comparison of one game that's like just ultra dark and like just there's almost no joy anywhere to be found, to then I don't know what's happening with my camera. But until I get to something that's a little bit more positive, a little bit more like slice of lifey. It's not the best comparison right now because like with Persona, I'm just trying to speed run through it, where like with Last of Us, I was really taking my time with everything. But yeah, like it's a really contrasty games to be playing side by side, especially even the gameplay, where The Last of Us is a lot faster, where it's a turn-based RPG. Also, just like in Persona, there's so much dialogue that sometimes feels a little unnecessary with like the characters the characters constantly having to reflect on their light gray justice if it's justified. It's like, we're taking out the literal worst people on the planet. Should we really be doing this? It's just kind of like, okay, we don't need this for the 5th time of them questioning, is their justice actually right?
So, I actually have qualms with that because I think some of the people aren't great, don't get me wrong. But I think the only one that like is really a really, really, really like despicable person is Kamoshida.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the shadow versions of all of them, just like they go really above and beyond of just being like, wow, these people really are terrible. And I know it's supposed to be an over exaggeration of how terrible they are, but like it almost feels like to excess at some point.
Well, we'll have several more weeks of us talking about this because it's going to take me a few more weeks to get through the game at least.
Yeah, and I've still got a few more weeks left before I get the platinum.
So, because I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the new semester once we get there, although spoiler free if I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
I checked out and made sure that I'm going to max out the guys thing I need to max out to make sure I get there.
Don't make the same mistake Alex did.
Sorry, I want before we go forward, Ballant, do you want to like log off and then log back on and see if that fixes the problem?
I'm going to try that.
All right.
Okay.
All right, give me a second. You guys can keep talking.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's switch this and talk about grandfather pillows. Is that a new game, AJ?
No. So, as I mentioned earlier this year, my grandfather passed away, and I inherited, some of his old things, and I picked out a couple shirts and gave them to my girlfriend, and she made pillows out of them, and so I just put that in the doc. I wanted to give her a shout out for her amazing handiwork on this thing, and it's a shirt my grandfather used to wear, and now he's a pillow.
Can you send me a picture of that? I'd love to show my wife. She would,
absolutely.
go crazy
Absolutely.
over that.
Absolutely, I'll do that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
No, that's really cool. Really, really cool. All right. Well, let's segue here into we've got some Pokemon talk. Pokemon Isle of Armor. Mitch, have you played that as well, or just Cozy?
I talked about it last week because it
Oh, you did,
released
yes,
the
right.
day we recorded last week, and I beat it that
Hey,
day.
Alex is back.
There we go.
And
My
he's back.
Or my camera was being weird.
Like I said, there isn't a lot of content to it, at least from a main story perspective, but I enjoyed my time with it. I'm still going to get back to it and explore more of the new wild area because it's way more detailed than the old one. But you were asking about this because of Cozy, not me.
Yeah, Cozy.
Yeah, I've been playing it a bit on stream, as you can see in the footage up above right now. I'm really enjoying this. I think that, if they had just said, hey, in the new Isle of Armor expansion, your Pokemon can follow you around, or hey, you're going to be able to train up a cool new fighting type legendary Pokemon, or hey, you're going to have a lot of cool new Pokemon to catch and add to your Pokedex, those each individually alone would have been cool. And so I think that it's really cool that the Isle of Armor expansion is filled with all these things all at once. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to the Crown Tundra if the quality of this DLC is anything to go by.
So I haven't played the DLC, but my son's been playing it a lot, and he really, really likes it. He's trying to find all these Diglets with special hair,
Yeah.
so that he can get a Bulbasaur, or no, he's got a Bulbasaur. He wants to get a
Alolan
Squirtle.
Diglets.
Yeah.
Alolan Diglets.
There's a bunch of Pokemon that you can get for basically collecting certain increments of the Alolan Diglets.
Yeah, you do get a gift Squirtle or Bulbasaur that have the ability to Gigantamax, which is new
yeah.
for the Isle of Armor expansion, which is probably what he was referring to.
Yeah.
There are 151 Diglets to find on the Isle of Armor, so it's another collectible quest, which is
151.
What a
random
this
number.
DLC seems to be, for the most part, from a quest perspective.
Okay.
But at certain intervals of collecting these, you do get gift Alolan. I think they're Alolan forms, right, Cozy? With their hidden abilities. So they're pretty unique in that fashion.
Correct.
So yeah.
Okay. Keep the Pokemon talk going. Last week we had a little Pokemon Direct, and they announced the new Pokemon Snap. But I see you've been playing just regular Pokemon Snap. How's that?
Yeah, so I booted up the old Wii U this last weekend and bought and downloaded and played through the entirety of the N64 version of Pokemon Snap, which I never played before because I never owned an N64.
Oh, really?
So you're playing it on the Wii U. Does it do... I know it's the N64 game, but does it do anything with the Wii U gamepad, or is it just the N64?
No, it's just...
Oh, that's disappointing.
I did play it entirely on the gamepad, though, because other people were using the TV. It's fun. I enjoyed it quite a bit. The controls, being an N64 game, they're a little not great because that controller was very not great.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see what they do with new Pokemon Snap on the Switch.
When
just based on what I experienced from this.
When you say you beat it, did you just play through it all the way to Mew the once, or did you
just the once?
You didn't go back and see all the other areas that you may have unlocked?
I replayed areas a few times with the different tools you unlock along the way, and I enjoyed my time with it. It was worth the $10 I spent on it.
Okay.
How much did you rely on guides to figure out all of the puzzles in the game?
A lot.
Okay.
I've always been a guide guy.
That's one of those things where, in my mind, I remember kind of figuring out all of Snap's various puzzles on my own, but I definitely didn't. I definitely relied on, a combination of guide and help from friends. And, ultimately, it allowed me to really enjoy that game, but I suppose that's something... it's going to be interesting to see how much they rely on puzzles in the next game and how easy or challenging they make them. Because I'm all for making them including some really esoteric puzzles that force you to really replay the levels and experiment a lot, but I can understand them being hesitant to do so.
Yeah,
I'm really curious about the new one. I might actually want to give it a shot because I enjoyed this one. I remember playing it back in the day on the N64, although I'm sure it wouldn't feel the same exactly now. So that was announced at the Pokemon Direct last week. I'm going to segue into a little bit of news because this feels like the perfect time to just do a small segue. It
absolutely is.
But we had a Pokemon Direct this morning where we thought we were going to get something really big.
We did.
We did.
Pokemon MOBA.
Just wasn't for us.
Yeah. Pokemon Unite was announced. I was watching with my son, and my son's like, "Is this it, Dad?" And I was like, "Yeah, buddy."
Honestly, I watched the trailer for that, and like I think it looks pretty good for a MOBA. Like it seems to fit and kind of make sense.
Yeah.
I put a few hours into Dota 2 like years ago, but and I used to watch like the international like it was a real sport. But and I never personally got into League or anything, but like yeah, this seems like fun. It looks like there are 5 of us here. We should probably do something with that.
Do we have to?
I really don't want to.
I think we kind of have to.
Have to now.
So, in my case, I for a really long time have been wanting a really good Pokemon game where you play as a Pokemon that's not the Mystery Dungeon games. The Mystery Dungeon games have their place in the fandom. They have great stories, but I've never really loved the way in which, like, I've never loved the way that those games feel. I never loved the kind of jerky way that you like stop and go and move around the dungeons. And I'm looking forward to, like, even if I don't get into the competitive scene of this game, I'm just looking forward to kind of like journeying around the map and swiping at things as a Charizard.
Yeah, my son will want to play because he's playing that Poke Cafe mix game today and yesterday since it came out. So
How's he like that?
I played a little bit of that too. It's something. I can definitely see where they're going to try to take all of your money, Nathan.
yes, well, yeah, I'm not letting that happen. He's not allowed to have money for this type of things.
Honestly, that's my biggest concern with Pokemon Unite is
Yeah.
what does the microtransaction model look like? I've gone down
Well-
the rabbit hole of a game that had an IP that I cared about that took a lot of my money on mobile. I'm not doing that again. So
If
I
it-
probably won't play this.
If it's a MOBA, my guess is
It'll be
it's probably doing.
skins.
Yeah, it'll be skins, and it
But-
will be unlocking. Like if you want to unlock the specific Pokemon, you'll have to pay to do it.
But-
They'll rotate through your Pokemon that are available to choose.
Other than shiny, what other skins would?
I mean, there's like 45 different versions of Pikachu, but other than that, I don't know.
Yeah,
Other-
I was
yeah,
gonna.
I don't know,
Well,
you get creative.
I mean, based on some of the stuff that's been in Pokemon Go, I'd imagine you can have stuff like, for example, the clone version of Blastoise and Charizard based on their appearance in the first Pokemon movie, for
Or
example.
hats.
Or like, yeah,
Yeah.
birthday hats,
Sunglasses.
like
I-
Halloween
I still don't
costumes.
feel like there's like if you look at the Steam marketplace and look at all the cosmetics that are available for all the Dota 100+ Dota characters, like I don't see. I just can't connect the two. Like
Mhm.
Yeah. For
terms
me,
of cost.
I need to see what that looks like. I will probably like give it a shot because it is free to play, but I won't stick with it. But this announcement wasn't meant for us.
Is it,
This
is it-
announcement.
is
So
it
I was
on
just
the
going to say
Switch?
it is on the Switch and it's on
Okay.
mobile, which
Okay,
the
so
Switch version doesn't really matter for the market that they're trying to get into with
Yeah.
this game, and that's China.
But it
This
is
game is-
cross-play.
It's cross-play, but this is a collaboration with Tencent. It's being
Yeah.
developed by the same studio that developed Call of Duty Mobile and some other free-to-play mobile MOBA that's name is escaping me at the moment. Arena of Valor, I think, is the one I'm
Yes, I've
thinking
heard
of.
that one.
It is more of a way of getting a Nintendo IP into a style of game that is popular in a market that Nintendo typically has not been able to penetrate. So if they can make the most profitable license in the world, being Pokemon, something that appeals to a Chinese audience, they're going to make hand over fist. Like this Pokemon Presents was not meant for us. It was meant for their investors, and it probably should have been handled in a different way.
It's interesting. After watching this, I went on the YouTube sphere to see what other content creators thought of this, and I was surprised to see how many people had a negative reaction to it. Because I thought it was, even though it's not meant for me, I still thought it looked fine. And I do wonder how much of that is just sort of resentment towards Tencent and the company's sort of like tendency to make these very like gotcha-centric, microtransaction-centric experiences.
My guess is it's just the fact that it's a MOBA and people haven't asked for the MOBA. And I think people got let their hype get out of control and thought they were getting like a Let's Go second
That's a good point.
generation game.
They thought they
did
were
we
getting
say?
Johto or Sinnoh. We didn't get either of them, and the internet rioted.
Yeah.
So why didn't they show this last week then?
They
That's
should
a
have.
$1 million question.
Yeah, like why did they
Why-
have to do a second live stream for
Well, for
Maybe
the
the
essentially
ask-
just this?
maybe the
Tencent
assets weren't
probably
ready yet.
Yeah.
Or yeah, it could have been an agreement with Tencent to only advertise it on its own and not as part of another presentation.
Fair enough, I guess.
Because like Nintendo themselves haven't, or at least at the time of recording, have not tweeted out about a first party or a Nintendo IP coming to the Switch. Like they have not tweeted about Pokemon Unite because it's not an announcement meant for Nintendo's typical audience. This is meant for another audience, and I really hope they're successful with it because I feel like the more people playing Pokemon, the better. But it remains to be seen what happens with this MOBA.
Well, we don't know when that's going to come out, so let's put that in a pin and we'll give it a try. Maybe we'll all just do one round of it and see what we think of it.
Let's do it.
Mitch, you've got a new accessory to talk about. Your Genki Convert dock came in. How's that working so far?
I did. Look at this little guy. Look at him. This is a little tiny Switch dock. It's the size of like an iPad charger, essentially. It's got an HDMI in, USB 3.0 out, and a USB-C in and out for connecting to the Switch. And it's flawless. It worked. We went away to the cottage this weekend because we were allowed to see family a little bit more. And I took just this and my Switch and the USB-C cable it came with and played probably 3 or 4 hours of Clubhouse games with just my mother. We were playing darts and bowling and backgammon and like, it's like, oh, let's get a deck of cards. And I'm like, why don't we do this instead? And we just played hours of Clubhouse games and it was an absolute riot. Wow. But yeah, the Genki Convert dock, I saw no issues.
How much did it cost
notice.
you?
So I backed it on Kickstarter, and I also got the optional stand for the Switch so that it's not sitting flat when I plug the USB-C cable into the bottom of it. It's sort of propped up a bit.
Okay.
And I think all in all, it was about $70.
Okay. I just Googled. Yeah, it's about $74.99 US. Yeah. If you wanted to buy it right now.
Compare that to the Switch official dock, which is super bulky and hard to travel with.
Can also scratch your screen.
Yeah, I put a screen protector on mine right away for that reason. And I think that to buy one of those, they're like $80, $90 or something stupid like that.
I think it's like 100.
Yeah, because you're also getting an AC adapter in the box. But like this is your AC adapter. This little thing is your AC adapter. It's your dock. It'll charge accessories because of the USB port on the back. It did get a little warm after a few hours of using it, but I'm not really concerned about it at this point.
It's not as thin or it's not as small as that one, but I did pick up extra dock for upstairs, but we got the Insignia one from Best Buy. And it's really thin and it's $50 and comes with the AC adapter. So it doesn't have all the bulk standing up and you see the screen when you plug it in. But I'm glad you're enjoying the Genki one. So
I'm so happy, and I've got another backed Switch accessory that should be shipping soon. And look forward to talking about that on the show when it does arrive.
Sweet. So I was doing something else last night. I think I told you guys last week I'd ordered my computer parts. Well, I got told that they were going to be here Thursday, and then UPS sent me a message saying, oh, they're going to be here a day earlier on Wednesday, so I expect to have them today. And then they sent me another message yesterday saying, nope, it's going to be Thursday again. And then I got home, and the packages were waiting on my doorstep.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That's not great.
I'm not a fan of that. A bit of a UPS fail, especially because my wife was home. Nobody even knocked.
That's so dumb.
Oh, wow.
I'm so glad I live in an apartment and everything just goes to the concierge because that would legitimately give me nightmares.
Yeah. So thankfully, all my pieces were in yesterday, so I got a chance to actually build my PC last night, which was kind of fun. I watched a lot of YouTube videos prior to building it, and honestly,
you remember to use thermal paste, right?
It comes with thermal paste on the
yeah. It was the same thing. I was going to say it was the same thing with my computer as well.
Same.
Yeah. The thermal paste is already built onto the cooler that it comes with, so didn't have to do anything there. But it all went together really nicely. It's all plug and play. I was a little nervous, but I think I got a pretty good solution. Next week I'll be broadcasting from it because I'm a dummy and didn't realize that my monitors don't have the right things to hook up to it. So that'll be fixed next week. Or hopefully tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm really happy. I see you guys see a picture of all the stuff there. Cozy, is there a picture of the inside?
There is. I just switched to it.
Oh, perfect. So that's the inside of my computer. I think I did a pretty good job on the inside. There's a few small tweaks I want to make to it, but it's a nice looking computer. Even has some RGB lighting on the inside, so I want to put a little more strips on the bottom of it to make it shinier.
Yes. All good PCs have RGB.
Yeah. So, but
enough.
it's good. A lot of fun. I'd recommend if you can build your own computer, do it. It's a little nervous before you get there, but honestly, it all comes together pretty easily. So it doesn't take.
I know we've talked previously about me building at some point this year, but I don't know if I have the stomach to do it myself. I might need a hand.
Well,
It's super straightforward if you watch the right tutorials. It's so easy.
honestly, Paul's Hardware, which AJ turned me on to when he sent that one thing. I've watched a lot of his videos now, and Jay's 2 cents on YouTube.
Yeah,
as
he's
well
great.
has been super
Linus
helpful.
Tech Tips is also
Linus
pretty
Tech
good.
Tips, yeah.
Yeah.
That which also support Canadian.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the build. It's nice modular. But yeah, no, I'll hopefully have some news about actually playing some games on it in the next week or so. If
I
can
thought
get
that
the
was just
specs.
for podcasting.
Well, it is just for podcasting, but then I put a graphics card in it, so it can run mid-range games now. I don't know. I'm taking this as the opportunity to play some Xbox games potentially through Xbox Games Pass. Or Game Pass for PC, because I've never played any Xbox games, so I might actually try this Halo thing. I don't know. I hear people talk about it sometimes.
It's a pretty underrated series.
Never heard of it.
It's
Maybe a Forza game. I don't know. I heard about Forza.
Forza.
Like
Forza.
Like pizza.
So, or the Forza Horizon ones I've heard are pretty good. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to dive into a bit of that once I get this Game Pass redeemed. But yeah, no, it's definitely a fun experience, and I'd suggest instead of like buying a store-bought one, just buy the pieces and do it yourself. I think you'll get more bang for your buck out of that, honestly. Finally, I've saved Cozy for last year, specifically for a separate reason. But Cozy, tell me about Apex.
Yeah, Apex, it's a game I've talked about a lot in the past. I'm not going to talk about it too much at length here, other than to say that the most recent Apex mode just started, which is Armed and Dangerous Evolved. Basically, the whole premise of the mode is there are only shotguns and sniper rifles available for you to collect from the terrain. So you're either really good at far range or at super close range. And you also only have evil armor, which basically evil armor gets more and more powerful the more and more damage you do to your enemies. So it kind of encourages you to be very proactive on the battlefield and do a lot of damage. And so the mode itself is fun. However, the reason why I wanted to specifically bring it up is that for the past couple of weeks, I've been almost exclusively playing Apex competitively, like in the ranked mode of Apex. I haven't been just playing casual, non-ranked Apex. And it's sort of broken me where I'll go into Armed and Dangerous Evolved, which is not ranked. It's just one of those modes where anyone and everyone can play. And I'll see my allies making dumb decisions, just completely abandoning me and going to different sections of the battlefield, and I'll be like, what are you doing?
Stay in your lane.
Yeah, we're supposed to stick together. It's strength in numbers. And yeah, so I feel like Apex is just, it's broken me in this weird kind of way. But on the other hand, I can definitively say that I've really improved at the game, and I can't see myself stopping anytime soon.
Are you going to play it on the Nintendo Switch when it comes out?
I feel like I'll definitely give it a shot. Like I said previously, I feel like the next platform for me to jump to is the PC, not the Switch.
I think,
but
yeah,
I mean, it'll be nice when it does come to Switch, because all the children are going to be playing it, and they're going to be really bad.
Oh, and it's crossplay, so yeah.
I think so. So I got Apex on PS4, and that's where I put some money into it. Like, this is back when it first came out, and then I had some friends who played it on Xbox, and I was like, hey, it's free, I'll just play it here too. And then I'm super bummed out because, like, the not like, I don't necessarily care about cosmetics, but like the characters will not carry over.
There's no cross progression,
even with no cross progression, even with that sort of thing, as far as I know. Like, that kind of bums me out that yeah, despite it being crossplay, like if I go over to my friend's place and log in on my account over there on a different console or whatever, then it's not going to necessarily carry my stuff over.
Yeah. Well, and they haven't confirmed any of that now. So all of that news for Apex was actually talked about the EA Play event that was streamed. I haven't watched it, so I'm gonna have you guys fill me in on it. So we've got the Apex news. Obviously, we've just talked about the crossplay. It's coming to Switch and Steam this fall. I've heard some excitement for Switch going on. I'm curious to see how it runs on Switch. Fortnite does very well, but some of the Switch ports haven't done so well. So fingers crossed. Hopefully, it does all right.
Yeah.
I have low hopes for that one.
Yeah.
Apex, though, isn't a very demanding game. Like, you can play it on very low-end PC hardware, so I expect that it'll be at least playable.
It really depends on who's handling the port. If it's a
That's-
studio that
that
knows
is
what they're doing, then sure. But if it's, I don't know, if it's Respawn doing it themselves, then I don't see a world in which their first Switch title comes out and runs like gangbusters, because it won't.
Yeah. Well, and the Outer Worlds was kind of a disaster, wasn't it, for the port that just came out recently?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doom was
So-
good.
Doom from 2 years ago was good.
Yeah.
So we've got that coming. So next I see we've got a game. I'm not going to say his name right. Joseph
Joseph Ferris.
Ferris.
Yeah.
He's fuck the Oscars guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, fuck the
Yes.
Oscars.
He also
Fuck the
made
Oscars.
He also made Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons and A Way Out.
Yes.
So he's very prolific in the like indie game sphere, as well as working with EA specifically.
2016 was 4 years ago. Thanks.
You're welcome. Not too
We're old, guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's working on a new game. It looks it's cool. We didn't see very much of it. This is my biggest
It's
problem.
another asymmetric co-op experience,
Yeah.
and he does them well enough that I have faith that it's going to turn out good.
My
Okay.
biggest problem with the EA showcase was they just didn't have a lot to show. They focused very hard on the developers, which, yes, it's nice to put a face behind the people who are making these games. I don't know what most of these games are that they're showing, aside from Apex, The Sims, and Star Wars, so I don't care about these people until they show me something that I can latch onto, and then I can start forming like this connection of like putting the creator to the art. But if you don't show me what the art is, then I don't care who you are. It sounds mean, but it's true. I just was bored. So like even with him, Joseph Ferris, who is somebody who is like we all know, and like we're all very like we all like kind of
Familiar
plotting.
with his work.
Yeah, we're familiar with him and his personality, and he's a very eccentric personality. His game looks cool, but I just wish they showed more of it instead of just focusing on him so much. Like they did like a really weird like deep dive on him and his upbringing, which is nice, but that's not why I
tied into the game.
Not in this game. Well, at least not that I think so. Like it kind of it like
we don't know.
yeah,
like the
like,
idea
we
that
don't
a way out may have been.
yeah, like it just didn't. I just wish that they just showed more stuff. And like with
Okay.
all of these games, and the next game that we were going to talk about, Lost in Random looks cool. The art style looks amazing. It looks like Coraline. It looks like Kubo and the Two Strings. It's got
Nightmare
like
Before Christmas vibes.
yeah, it's got
for
that
sure.
claymation stop motion vibe to it, and it looks really cool. It took them like 20 minutes of just the developers talking about the concept art and showing the concept art for the game before we even saw the trailer. I was so just uninvested, and then I saw the trailer. I'm like, that looks really cool. I'm actually now excited about that. I just wish that the show was tighter in what they were trying to do. It just felt like it was like they felt like they needed to go for 45 minutes, and so they just needed to pad it out as long as possible. This
Yeah,
might
they,
also like,
they stretched a Nintendo Direct from 15 minutes to 45 minutes.
and I think
See,
part of this.
yeah.
Yeah, I've been talking too much. Go ahead, Cozy.
Here's the thing. I don't disagree with anything that you're saying. I don't think that this press conference was like a top 10 press conference of all time press conference. But I feel like in the past, EA took 15 minutes worth of news and stretched it out into an hour and a half. So by that standard, 45 minutes is an improvement.
I guess
That
so.
is fair.
I've been so like the last like little bit we've gotten some really tight press conferences between we're going to talk about it a little bit later, but between what Square Enix showed with Avengers was very tight, was very like to the point. We saw what PlayStation did, which was like the gold standard of what you should be striving for.
Even the two Pokemon presentations we've gotten in the last 2 weeks have been tight. They might not have been the announcements people had expected, or maybe the ones they wanted, but they were tight presentations.
Yeah. Like I'm not even upset that they didn't show a Mass Effect remaster. Like I don't like. Fine, whatever. I'm gonna put my baggage at the door. Like whatever. They didn't show that, fine. But just like what they did show, just like if they cut it to 15 minutes and just showed trailer, that I would have been fine with that. Like I just wish it was. Go ahead. I just wish it was better.
Can we safely assume that showing concept art and schematics in a live show is probably not a good use of the time?
Yeah,
not
like
anymore.
Them showing like, oh, here's what's gonna be coming on the next generation from BioWare, from DICE, from Motive.
Yeah.
And also they're showing a Motive game when Motive is releasing their first game ever. Why are they showing what they're doing next when you could be focusing on what they're doing now, which is Star Wars?
I mean, they did focus a lot on Star Wars Squadrons, and that game
They did. But
dope.
also, when they did start with the guy from Motive, it was just him talking about how much of a Star Wars fan he is. It's like, yeah, okay, we all know everyone likes Star Wars. Shut up and show us the fucking game.
Not everyone likes Star Wars, just to be fair, but we all do, right?
Yeah, but like he's like, it felt like he had
Nathan?
to prove. It felt like he had
like Alex, Nathan. What was that?
I like Star Wars. Star Wars is fine.
Okay.
Give me more Star Trek.
It felt like he just had to fucking prove how much of a Star Wars fan he was, and you don't need to do that. You can just show the goddamn game because the game looks cool.
I just want to say
I'm really up for VR, and I'm very excited for that.
Yes, I want to play it in VR.
I just want to say I am really, really loving the passionate Alex we've gotten in the past 2 episodes now.
I was just saying, Alex is very passionate about this, and I'm sure we're going to have more press conferences and things for you to be passionate.
We will.
Just wait till July.
Oh, July is going to be great.
But like, I just want to there's 2 more things that because I already talked about Star Wars. Star Wars looks cool. Star Wars Squadron looks great. I'm very excited for it. It's a dogfighting Star Wars game.
It's
awesome.
Not full price too.
Rocket
we can
Arena.
Skip over that. Just skip over it.
It looks like fucking Fortnite. I'm so sick of that art style. And then
Sony did the same thing with their Destruction All Stars, right?
But I thought that looked good.
So
it does look good.
I want to just skate. How do you make a skate announcement and make it uninteresting? I don't get it.
It's do exactly what EA did there.
They have the 2 guys and be like, hey, skate is coming. Aren't you excited? We've listened to you. Also, just the fact that they're saying like, oh, we're listening to the community. Like we read all your comments. We're doing this now because of you. I feel like that sets a very bad precedent, but that's beside the point. But
that should have opened the show since they had nothing to show. It shouldn't have been what closed the goddamn presentation.
Like I know that this is work that they would have had to have done, but I wish we could have just gotten like a skateboard, like just something, like some sort of little teaser of like a skateboard rolling, and then you just see skate. Like just have a logo. I would have been fine with that, but just the 2 guys being like, skate's back, guys. Are you happy?
You guys brought it back. You willed it into existence.
Okay, your enthusiasm's nice, but also like you got
show us the game.
Literally have nothing
show
to
us the game.
You literally have nothing to show because the game just started production. So maybe wait. You've waited this long. Maybe wait a little longer.
It's in there as a response to Tony Hawk.
No, it's in there because they had nothing else to show. They didn't have a one more thing, and they made this their one more thing 3 years before it should have even been talked about. This game will not see the light of day for like 3 years.
They've done that before. Like they showed the Dragon Age.
They did that with Dragon Age Order as well.
Yeah, like what Dragon Age, whatever the next game is. Like
Dragon Age 4.
We saw stuff.
Yeah, we saw BioWare, Motive, and DICE's next games, like their next it's literally they're in prototype or like environmental stages. Like we saw nothing.
Okay, let's get off.
Let's get off.
Conference was bad.
Let's get off.
Greg Miller did a good job.
Yeah,
I heard a lot about his shirt.
That's a nice boy, that Greg Miller.
It's the ultimate glow up. Is Greg Miller?
Good job, Greg. So next piece of news here, we got something that's died. Unfortunately, R.I.P. Mixer. Mixer, the service, has decided to pass away after spending billions of dollars or millions of dollars to bring streamers on. I feel like very high profile streamers,
Yeah.
very like in the past like few months.
Yeah, like literally the most high profile streamer, Ninja, as well as
Yeah.
Shroud.
Yeah,
like there was a
Shroud.
whole lot of people that got signed on. Fortunately, Microsoft has said that they are getting released from their contracts. They can choose wherever they want to go next. There's no
And
like
they
not
made
And they're getting like fully paid out
They
on that
made
too.
so much money on that deal. Those guys are laughing all the way to the bank.
yeah.
They got their entire 3-year deal paid out to them when
Mhm.
they closed it down.
Well,
So
technically it's closing in July, but for all intents
July,
and
yes.
purposes, it's dead.
I mean,
And-
yeah,
And they're moving
Facebook.
everyone, or yeah, they're choosing to align with Facebook, which is
no, thank you.
fuck you doing with
No,
Facebook?
thank you.
Like
Yeah.
we also saw Ready at Dawn, the studio behind some Sony second-party titles, has now been acquired by Facebook as well. And it's just like Facebook is building up this gaming pedigree, but we all understand that Facebook's a scummy company, right?
Yeah.
But you know why they're doing it. It's well, number one, it's the money. But like
Yeah.
Ready at Dawn, it makes sense. They've worked with them on several Oculus games for the Echo Arena ones, and they haven't come out on any other platform. And you know what? If the studio can stay financially stable, I'm not opposed to it. They're not shutting studios down right now. So
Not yet, but who knows? Like, what if Facebook, like Microsoft or Google, just say, we're done with games. And then all that is just like they have the clout and the bank to do that. And then Oculus is dead in the water. All these studios they've acquired are dead in the water. They're making significant investments, but I just worry that from a business perspective, Facebook and to an extent Google don't have any business being in the games industry. Period.
So.
They're not games companies. They are companies that develop services. They have these huge knowledge trusts, like these huge data streams that they don't need this. So why are they doing it? It doesn't make any sense.
I would say that, but like once upon a time, there was a company called Microsoft, which wasn't in the games industry, and they developed operating systems and decided to make a console, and they seemed to do all right. And there's
they
this
did
other
it
company.
by force.
Do they though?
There's this other company called Sony, which did a lot of TVs and Walkmans, and they released.
They tried to partner with like the biggest name in video games, Nintendo, at one point.
Yeah, and
originally
that
known
didn't
for
work.
playing cards. Maybe
Yeah, and then they put out a vendetta against Nintendo, trying to ruin them, and almost did.
Yeah,
Aren't you?
I worry there's too much money behind these companies that they could choose to just write off these expenses as being capital losses, and then their entire games division is just gone. And I'd hate to see that.
What were you going to say, Cozy?
Never mind. I thought you were talking about one historical event when you were actually talking about another. Go on, it's fine.
You know what? I'm okay with it. Let Facebook buy them, let them get paid, and let them be financially stable. The honest truth is, Ready at Dawn's a talented studio, so even if they are shuttered by Facebook, every one of them can probably be hired to another studio.
Yeah.
No problems.
One of the last sort of linchpin on this is Major Nelson came out when they were talking about this and mentioned that like with the streaming from the Xbox One and then subsequently the Series X, it's not going to go through Facebook. Like you can stream on Twitch if you still want to. Like you don't have to.
Yeah. And like even right now, like with Mixer and everything, it's not exclusive to Mixer. Like now I know from the PS4 you can just do it through the share button and just broadcast to Twitch. But on the Xbox, you have to go into the Twitch app and then kind of set up a broadcast from there. Where Mixer, when it existed, there was like literally a tab that you could opt out of it from having it on your dashboard, but you would go there and you could just broadcast directly from your Xbox, or you could do that directly from like your guide button, similar to like the share button. So you can still do that on the Xbox. You just have to go into the Twitch app.
I will be interested to see if they do. Like, I know Major Nelson said no, they're not immediately going to partner with Facebook on what they're doing for the Xbox, but will it be an option? And will it be their preferred option, similarly to now how Mixer is the preferred option over Twitch? Because there's more hoops to go through for something that it's not a Microsoft product. I still worry there's going to be tighter integration between the Series X and Facebook than they're letting on at the moment.
Yeah. So I sent you guys a screenshot earlier yesterday, I think, when it originally happened, and it's just the headline was Phil Spencer. Yes, we absolutely want to give gamers a choice of where to stream from Xbox, and then Major Nelson commenting in the Reddit thread on that. If you're asking if the current Mixer integration in the dashboard is just going to become Facebook gaming, the answer is no.
And then further down in that thread, he also said that they're not planning on sharing any data between Microsoft and Facebook.
Yes.
But
So
it
we'll
remains
have
to
to
be seen
see.
what that integration does end up looking like at the end of the day.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. I'm sure there's more to come on that story as Mixer shuts down and we see where people are migrating to, because I think most of the people are going to Facebook, but we'll see where Shroud and Ninja and some of these higher profile people that got let out of their contracts go. Finally, as a final piece of the news, and I haven't watched any of it. It was today, I believe. Mitch, walk me through the Avengers confirmed, the Avengers stuff that we saw today. I know it's been confirmed that you get a free upgrade to next gen if you buy it.
Yeah, that news
gen.
actually broke a couple of days
Is
ago.
that-
Either yesterday or the day before.
Is that really news though? If they're releasing a live service game in 2020 before the next gen consoles come out, wouldn't it be assumed that it would be upgraded?
It was assumed, but it was never confirmed that there was
I
going to be a
guess, yeah.
next gen version of these games. So that was the announcement: is yes, there will be a next gen version of these games. Yes, both consoles are going to support some upgrade process, and there's going to be cross generational play within the same system
I
of
guess
console,
that's
which
bigger.
is
bigger.
news.
Compatibility and everything's still going to exist. So
Yeah, I know. First world problems. I'm in a situation where I pre-ordered Avengers at a discount last year, physical, but I'm planning on getting the digital PS5. So now I have to figure out.
Guess who's getting Avengers for more than half off now?
Not more than half off. No, it was like saving like $20.
no, it was
Oh,
a friend discount.
Okay, that's
On top of that, the friends discount.
Regardless of that,
I'm getting
we're-
Avengers for cheaper now, and I wasn't gonna buy the game anyway, so
So now he
you
has to
know.
play Avengers with me.
Yeah, that's
They
true.
also dived
really
a little
won?
deeper into the way the game's going to work in today's War Table stream, which voiceover from Casey Lynch, which is a bad look right now. if you ask
We'll talk
me.
about that in a second.
Yes, we will. What we saw today was a little bit of a deeper dive into how the story is going to work. There are going to be missions that are focused on each individual character. You can go through those as single player.
So are those missions, like you say single player, and they kind of made
Yeah.
a point of like showing it single player. Can you play those missions co-op? Do we know?
Maybe?
Because I watched the Kind of Funny react to it, and in the very corner before the mission started, there was like a veto option. Nobody knew what that was, and they pointed
but
that out.
that wasn't the so they showed a Thor mission, and that was a single player story based Thor mission, and then there was another mission which they're calling Warzone. I don't know.
Warzone, yeah.
Warzone, I think, where you get to choose on what mission you're going to launch, and then if you didn't want to participate in that mission, you get the option. I would assume, this is just assumptions at this point, to either veto that decision and opt out and go find a different party, or whatever the case might be.
Yeah,
but they delved a little deeper. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I sent my girlfriend the MODOK story trailer because I feel like that'd be the most compelling for her. And I have some feedback about it. She says, and keep in mind, her and I really, like, in terms of the Marvel universe, are only in the invested in the current Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Right.
Right. And so that's really our only point of comparison, other than, the odd cartoon when we were growing up. And so my girlfriend, her name is Rachel, she said, super interesting concept. I will say that I know the movies aren't the game, but they all kind of look and sound different, but that's okay. I'd watch you play that any day. I like the dystopian factor and that it's not the story we already know, at least from the movies.
What did she think of MODOK?
I'm not sure. She did not elaborate on MODOK specifically, but me, who is not necessarily connected to like the history of MODOK or anything like that, he seemed
I'm so happy that they're bringing.
Yeah, I want to say I'm really happy that they're bringing MODOK into this game too, and I think it makes smart that they would start with a villain like MODOK, so that with subsequent seasons they can move up to a bigger, more prominent Marvel villain to follow up MODOK.
I was going to say a big selling point that we got today is that all story-based or all mission DLC that's going to come out in the future, it's all free.
Yeah,
which is great. They're only going to be selling things like cosmetics, which my wallet is already hurting. There's essentially going to be a divide between what are story-based single-player missions and these multiplayer missions that exist in the same universe. Those you go into with a party of up to 4 different heroes. Everyone can spec out their heroes in any way that they want. So my Thor will not play the same as Alex's Thor. My Hulk won't be the same as Cozy's Hulk. So it's applying a style of game that I don't typically play in a live service Destiny style game to a license I care a lot about, growing up being a comic book nerd. So I'm very excited. Like, this is going to be the first live service game that I invest a significant amount of time in at launch, because I did not get the Division 2 at launch.
So like the game itself, like whatever, we knew it was a live service, and it was kind of like, what is that gonna be like, and how are these characters? And so when we were watching the Thor gameplay, Thor's hammer had no weight behind it. Every time he was hitting stuff and doing the combos, it just felt like he wasn't really like it. There wasn't this oomph to it. Like it just didn't feel like it. And maybe it'll be different when you actually play it. I'm not denying that. It just, everything looked very floaty, and it just felt like there was no nothing behind it. And I really wanted, like, I want Thor to feel like how Kratos felt in God of War.
Yeah.
Like, that hammer needs to feel like the Leviathan axe.
Right,
Otherwise, it's just a failure.
It's not a failure. You're building one experience around one character that is a core element of your entire game. This is taking so they're taking a gameplay engine and they're going to apply that same gameplay concept to 5 different totally unique characters, all of which have different options for moves, attacks, ultimates, team ultimates, all that.
Fun to play.
Then they'll release new characters down the line that might be fun to play. Like, I'm at the point where they're going for the Marvel Ultimate Alliance approach of just giving it's a wide berth. So you're giving you multiple options in terms of attacks and characters and things like that. No one character is likely going to feel to the same level as Kratos, because Sony Santa Monica spent 4 years developing that one character to work really well in the one linear experience. These are not linear. This is not a linear experience that we're getting with the Marvel Avengers Crystal Dynamics game. At least the multiplayer missions are open world to an extent. Like, they're arena style. There isn't a defined experience the way you have a defined linear experience in traditional single player games.
So I'm with Alex Ballant, where I did not love the footage of Thor fighting. I do wonder, though, if the reason why it didn't look that good is because there weren't any UI elements on screen. When I think about games like Destiny, or The Division, I think as a better example, I think about a lot of the UI elements, and I feel like the presence of those elements reminds me of the fact that I am playing more of an MMO-like experience, and it kind of puts me in this mindset where I'm like, it's fine that the gunplay or the kind of overall feel of things isn't as good as a more traditional action game like God of War. And I wonder if the footage would have looked better if we had seen more of that UI element stuff.
Yeah, that's
food for thought.
It's entirely possible. My biggest hang up, I guess, is that this game looks like a AAA experience, and because it is, essentially.
It is.
But the gameplay, all of the gameplay of how it looked, it felt like what you were saying, like Marvel Ultimate Alliance, which is not a AAA experience. And I just feel like it's not a AAA game.
It has been in the past.
I agree with Alex on that one.
It's definitely double A. I'm not saying it's not a bad game. I really enjoyed Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. I'm just saying it's just like the quality of the visuals and the presentation and the voice actors, the fact that they got basically the Avengers of voice acting between Troy Baker, Travis Willingham, Nolan North, and
Laura
Laura
Bailey.
Bailey. I don't know
mean,
who plays Captain America, but he's not even in the game
I don't
apparently.
know. And then the voice actor behind Thor and Hulk were the same voice actors from a few of the animated shows as well, which is very cool.
Well, no, the voice actors for Thor is Travis Willingham, and
yeah, but
Troy
hasn't
Baker
Travis
is the Hulk.
Willingham? No, Troy Baker is Bruce
Troy
Banner.
Baker's
The Hulk.
Oh, they're
No,
different. Okay.
Hulk is Fred. What's his face? I think that has
Oh,
done the Hulk
my
in
mistake.
multiple shows.
My mistake.
And then Travis Willingham, being well known for video game voice acting, has still done Thor in some of the
I didn't
animated
know
shows.
that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Which
Sorry.
is very cool for me, who knows a lot about a lot of this stuff. One interesting thing they did show off about Thor is the fact that with his hammer, you can target multiple enemies, and you throw it once, and it's going to go ding, 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 ding through all of them. And I thought
just
that
hope
was
it
really
feels
cool.
good.
So it's the Wind Waker boomerang.
I will admit, with God of War, part of the feeling of why that axe felt so good to throw was the feedback that you did get with the controller, with it vibrating on the return of it. So, like, I'm not saying that it's not going to feel good. It just doesn't look good to play, which is
I
still
like
a problem.
The Thor, they focused too much on Thor, and some of that felt a little floaty. But they showed the Iron Man gameplay looked dope.
Iron Man does.
At least
cool.
I thought Iron Man looked cool, and Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, looked really cool in terms of like the stretchy big hand and like smacking people up against walls and stuff. Like that looked like it had some real weight behind it. The way you're looking for Thor's hammer to also have that weight.
So so sorry, really quick. As somebody who didn't play the Marvel Spider-Man, as a superhero game, how does it look compared to that?
I mean, Marvel Spider-Man kind of looked good from the get-go, where I've been constantly having doubts about Avengers. Though I will admit, I think
visually they're both beautiful.
Yeah, like I genuinely do think, like, one of the things I did say while I was watching this was I did say, oh, it looks like the character models got better. Like they do look like that they've improved quite a bit. Like
that's good.
The first time we saw those
they look like the stunt doubles for sure.
It did
the first time.
Where now, and maybe it's just because I've warmed up to the idea of it not being Robert Downey Jr.
and it's not supposed
Scarlett
to be
Johansson.
like.
But it just felt like it was close enough that there was like that disconnect of like what you're trying. But now it felt like it feels like now and again, maybe I've just warmed up to the idea of them being different, where it feels like now that there's like enough differences there that it's like, okay, this is Crystal Dynamics Iron Man. It's not off-brand Tony. It's not off-brand Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, I mean, I can go on a bit of a rant here where it's okay.
We got to move on.
I can
talk about this more because they are going to.
I know
they are going to be doing more of these war.
There will be
rooms.
Avengers spoilers
see more
in the future.
I think they said monthly war table presentations between now and the launch of the game in September, and then next gen will be coming around launch
as well.
I've already talked in the past how I am committed to playing this game, whether it gets a 6 or a 10 out of 10.
Let's do it, Cozy.
With you, Mitch, and whoever else at this table wants to play it. So
Alex has to. He's already agreed to buy my pre-order off me.
Yeah.
Let me know when there's a Justice League one, and then we'll talk.
There has been. They were
directed by Zack Snyder.
I love Justice League. DC's the best. But okay, final question, just quickly: yes or no? Will it release on time?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm gonna say it's gonna get delayed, but it's gonna get a like Cyberpunk 2077 style delay where it's only by a couple months.
They're gonna delay back to being released in the same week as Cyberpunk.
That would be stupid. Keep with your date.
Hilarious.
It's gonna be a game with continual updates. Just update the game. Get it out. If it's not perfect at launch, it's gonna suck, but it's a game that they can make better over time.
Pull an Anthem.
Exactly. No. No.
I would say
put that bad juju on me. Pull a Destiny or Destiny 2.
Do at least Destiny, but let's hope for at least like
Destiny
current
2?
Destiny 2.
I don't know.
All right, let's move on. Or AJ,
you almost
sorry,
got
do
me
you have
there.
anything?
That was bad.
Anything?
Is it going to release on time or not?
I'm gonna say yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
It's already been delayed once. So that's
They'll try and push it out as soon as possible.
So hopefully it does not repeat the mistakes of Anthem.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into
one last thing. I could see it getting delayed if beta response is really negative.
Okay, that could happen potentially.
It could.
Let's see. So now we're going to get to watch all the things. This is going to get a little more serious for a second. Where'd Alex go?
Who knows?
We can catch him up when he gets back. It's
Okay. So this week, and Mitch, you started off the broadcast with Believe Victims and Believe Victims, 100%. We're gonna put that message forward. Recently, in the video game industry, not just in development, but in terms of the journalism side as well, there's been a lot of stories coming out about abuse, sexual assault allegations, abuse. Bullying in the workplace that have come out, and it's really hitting all sectors. And it's not just in the video game industry. I pay attention to wrestling. It's hit wrestling really hard too, and other things. As people women or victims are bravely coming forward. I want to make sure I say victims because there's men too.
There were a number of really disturbing accusations being made by a lot of gay men in the video game industry specifically. That it's just horrible seeing some of the things that they've been having to live with for the last few years.
Jason Shire as at Bloomberg has put together an article, video game industry rocked by outpouring of sexual misconduct allegations. It's worth a read. So you can
I will drop the link in the Twitch chat for anyone who's in the chat.
Perfect. I think, well, we talked about this, but essentially, and we're going to echo the message a lot of other people are echoing. If you're an asshole, if you're a piece of shit, don't listen to our stuff.
Yeah.
No, fuck off.
If you're an abuser, go away. We don't want you listening.
The biggest thing is like if you feel like any of this, like anytime we talk about stuff like this, or just anyone talks about stuff like this and being like this is bad, and you feel like you're being called out, then you know you're part of the problem, and you should reflect on that.
Not necessarily that. I do want to say there are people are entitled to having differing opinions to ours.
100%.
Right. There are people that are going to skew more conservative than we do. They're going to skew, they're going to agree with certain things. They're not going to agree with others. Have the conversation. My DMs are the show's DMs are open. We want to have these conversations with you. If you feel like we're encroaching on anything that really upsets you, please reach out. We want to have the conversation. That being said, if you're reaching out because you feel like we're calling you out for being an abusive piece of shit, go away.
Yeah. A couple weeks ago, there was somebody even in our own Twitch chat here, and I was very distracted that episode because I was watching the Twitch chat as it started to go down, and I was just like, just say the thing, just say the one thing, and then he said the thing, and instant banned him. He's gone. And then we only heard from one of our faithful viewers, Monarchy. He's a faithful viewer of Cozy First. He was privately messaging Monarchy, calling him a whole bunch of shitty names and stuff, SJW related. And I have no patience or tolerance for that fucking garbage. And if you do that, you're gone.
Yeah, and I want to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Cozy.
I was going to say he called him a plutocracy and not a monarchy, which that's a big no-no.
Oh boy,
especially for monarchy. Oh
yeah. I want to echo what Mitch said too. There is a chance for people to have different opinions, and you brought up the conservative outlook versus if you're a fiscal conservative, let's talk about that. And let's what
does that mean in 2020? Like there's conversations there.
Yeah, there's conversations.
We want to talk to you. Don't feel like you can't talk to any of us. Like we want to be as approachable as we can be for all of you.
Yeah. But we just want to make sure that victims are heard. Too much is happening in the industry. And don't get me wrong, some of these allegations are much more serious than the others.
Yes.
But regardless, it's all shitty. It's all bad.
Yeah.
Regardless.
We're not out here advocating for cancel culture or anything like that. There are people that have made mistakes and they're owning up to those, and they're having the conversation saying, I've screwed up. I'm sorry. I want to learn from this. I want to grow from this. That's totally fine. Yep. But if learning and growing from this is a act of gross sexual misconduct, fuck right off.
Yeah, 100%.
There's no apologizing for that. That's terrible. You cannot treat other human beings that way. So, no.
Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
No. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, in the wrestling side, one of my favorite wrestlers on the independent scene who I thought was really cool turns out to be not really cool at all and kind of a piece of shit. And he's being erased from history at the moment. So
I watch a lot of Giant Bomb content, and they have their own wrestling crossover stuff, and Apparently, Gentleman Jack was not such a gentleman.
No, he's been let go by the WWE.
Yeah, fuck that guy. Apparently, but yeah, no. We're kind of like our own. This podcast spawned as fans of Kind of Funny, and if you just go over to the Kind of Funny vids Twitter and look at their statement,
yep,
I think it's safe to say that we all kind of echo the exact sentiments that are currently in their pinned tweet. So
yeah, and I think just anecdotally to that conversation, we all met as part of being part of Kind of Funny Toronto fan community. Nathan, you and I run that Facebook account.
Yep.
The thing we talked about when we started that was, oh God, what are we going to have to do when someone's in here acting like a piece of shit?
Well, we haven't had that yet.
Well, thank God, knock on wood, that has not happened. But
yeah,
I feel like now in where we are in 2020, if that were to happen, I would want to apologize for whatever that person said. I feel like you would want to do the same and then fuck right off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're a little more empowered to feel that way now, as opposed to trying to sweep things under the rug as people had been doing for years prior to this.
Yeah, I think it's important that we talk about the problems. Greg Miller, the Kind of Funny did their podcast, and it was about this topic, and I listened.
That
to
is
it today.
Required viewing, listening. The most recent episode of the Kind of Funny podcast for sure.
And it was talking about how he would just mute the trolls, but that's not the right thing to do, because then he's not understanding what the other people are going through, who are going through it. Like, he's just like, oh well, like, just move on with your life, and you don't see what's going on. You don't see everything. So,
Cozy, speak.
Well, no, I just want to kind of like end cap this conversation by saying, when these sorts of happenings occur in the industry, I notice that, like, an instinct that a lot of people have is to kind of bristle up when they see, women or victims of abuse coming forward and saying, I just feel terrible. I feel like, men in the industry, so often encroach upon their power and make things, they basically make things uncomfortable for everyone else. I think, again, a natural kind of instinct is to kind of like get defensive and be like, I'm not that kind of person. And it's like, if you're not that kind of person, if you genuinely are a good person and you haven't done the things that victims are accusing other people of doing, then that's perfectly fine. And you don't need to bristle at that. And if you see in their accusations, like, some things that you yourself have done, then, I think it's an opportunity to reflect and think seriously about, what you can do to improve yourself. Mm-hmm. Basically, like, in the face of everything that's going on right now, like, don't bristle and don't get defensive if you feel uncomfortable by that stuff. I'd say just be supportive and, like, ultimately, let people say their piece right now.
We just need to be better. And that's it. Just be better to each other.
Treat everybody with respect, how you'd want to be treated. And I think that's where we're going to call it for now. I have a feeling we could be talking about this over the next few weeks.
I hope we don't, but I feel like we will.
Yeah. So let's continue moving on here. Twitch has been, there's not much to talk about here, but Twitch has been sued for $25 million over suggestive streamers, Alinity and Pokimane, and others. So somebody's gone after
connection there too.
Somebody's gone after them because they are too attractive. AJ, you threw this in there, so can you give us a quick synopsis? Like,
it's
20 seconds.
Essentially, somebody is suing Twitch, or trying to, specifically because during the COVID crisis, kids are spending more time at home, which means they're spending more time on the internet, which means they're spending more time watching Twitch, which means they have more access to these e-thoughts, as people have derogatorily called them. They just no, that's
hold on a second. Is that e-thought like ETHOT?
Correct.
Got it.
Yeah. It's a derogatory term coined to attack women on this platform that we are streaming on right now, and it's super shitty.
Am I old if I don't know what that means?
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
It stands for that hoe over there.
Oh.
I gotta say,
I guess we're the old guys of the group.
Yeah. Well,
I
I
got-
definitely am.
I just want to say, super weird that they're targeting Pokimane, because I've looked at Pokimane streams a little bit in the past. I don't watch her typically because her content isn't really of an interest to me, but I've looked at her streams for like research purposes to be like, all right, what does she do that makes her a popular streamer, and how can I kind of like apply that to my own streams? And like, I don't get it. Like, I don't get why he specifically is naming her as an example.
Probably just because she's the biggest female streamer on the platform.
I guess.
It's probably it. There's not a lot. I mean, there's not a lot of reason to this.
No, it just seems like, it's frivolous, it's garbage, it's just stupid. Anyway, but you should totally read that article.
Yeah, and just to be clear, of course, Pokimane not the only person that is being attacked in this thing. There are a whole bunch more, but
there's a list of people who got named. Specific, like one specifically that you might all remember is I believe it's pronounced Quoko. I think she goes by. She was the streamer who did a live cosplay of Chun-Li, and she fucking nailed it. She looked exactly like this character in the video game, and she got banned off Twitch because it was too provocative. So.
All right.
Yeah.
So, once again, women are being treated poorly.
Yep.
So let's do better. Please, let's do better. So I guess at this point we've got deals. Mitch, you got a deal that you want to talk about?
Castlevania Requiem, which is a collection of Symphony of the Night and Rondo of Blood, is on sale on the PSN for like less than $7. So if you don't own those games or have never played through what is probably the best Castlevania game of all time, give it a shot.
How can I get into Symphony of the Night? Because I've tried it 4 or 5 times and I love Metroidvanias and something's not clicking.
I actually don't know. I've never played it before. I just know it's lauded as the best Castlevania game of all time. I'm actually going to pick it up as part of this sale and I can let y'all know.
Okay. Well, get back to us on what you played next week. If you play,
we'll see. Between that and The Last of Us, I might not have time.
All right. Well, whenever we get to it down the line.
Also, next week is Iron Man VR, and I'm so excited.
Oh yeah, am I getting a code for that? I hope so. I'm supposed to be getting a code for that. Anyways, I'm on the short list. Regardless, maybe I'll be talking about Iron Man VR too. So we might have some news about that. Anyways, let's jump into the topic of the show. We're starting to run long. I don't think it's going to be super long today. Sorry.
An hour and a half into the show, and we'll jump in.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Some of the stuff went a little long here, but this isn't going to be a huge topic today. I've got some notes made here. But today we're going to do video game rehab. And instead of doing a video game rehab, it's kind of service rehab because we're going to talk about PlayStation Plus.
Let's do it.
What's going that. Now, I've done some history notes here for you. This is actually kind of good timing to talk about PlayStation Plus because it's just coming up on the 10-year anniversary on Monday.
Wow.
For it. So we were supposed to talk about this a few weeks ago, and this is actually better timing.
So if it's 10 years, does that mean it's 9 years since that big PlayStation outage?
Yes. Well, actually, that's in my notes there. But yes.
Wow.
So 9 years since the big PlayStation outage. So initially when PlayStation Plus launched, the focus was on free games and discounts. The online services for PS3 and Vita were free. You didn't have to have PS Plus to access those. So it was a mild hit. Like it was okay, but nobody was buying it. And then we had the great outage of 2011.
Mm-hmm.
We had the great PSN outage of 2011, and I think that changed a lot of things for the service because after that outage, everybody got it for free as part of Sony's compensation package. What I really like to call it is feeding them a little bit so you want to buy more. I can't remember the exact timing. The honest truth is I was trying to do a little bit of research on it so I could make sure I had things right. And there's not a really good history of PS Plus online. But they did give it, I think it was 2 or 3 months they gave you for free for PS Plus. And I think a lot of people after that point kept the subscription going because they enjoy getting the free games. And let's be honest, the PS Plus discounts are always, especially at that point, were really good.
Yeah, this felt
I would
like
say at that point for sure.
Yeah.
This is kind of like the way you've been talking about this and like thinking about it in retrospect. This was at a time when Sony was kind of like against the wall a little bit. They were starting to recover from the initial launch of the PS3 and starting to come back at Microsoft. And it feels like a lot of the moves that Microsoft has been making now with like, let's do this service and try to like and make it like really like what people want and like try to make it like as worth a proposition as possible. It's like what Microsoft is doing right now with Game Pass.
Yeah. So I think they did a lot of good things with it early on, and I think getting everybody on with the free 2 or 3 months, however much it was, really was effective in keeping people on the service, because we saw how well their subscription numbers did after that. Fast forward, I think, a year, and we introduced the Instant Game Collection. And I'm sorry, I was having trouble finding the exact games that were included, but I believe Little Big Planet and Uncharted 2 were two of the big ones. But essentially, if you got PS Plus and you bought a PlayStation 3, and they were packaging PlayStation Plus for, I think, a month or 6 months or something with the systems, you automatically got 6 great games when you got the system.
Yeah. And sometimes it would be like cross-play on one platform. So you would get a game that was designed for the Vita, but you would also get an extra copy on your PlayStation 4 or even your PlayStation 3 or vice versa.
Yep, or your PlayStation TV. Let's not forget that.
Oh, that was I wish I had one of those. I wish I bought one.
Me too, actually.
So we have the Instant Game Collection. Now at this point, PS4 wasn't out yet, so it was just PS3 games and PS Vita games were there. But you always knew that you had a strong thing. They kept the lineup. It wasn't switched monthly at that point. They were there for a long time before they did start switching them. And then we saw it we then saw it switch as they the PS4 launched. They added PS4 games to it. So you still got all those PS3 games, the Vita games, but then they added PS4 games. And the first two were Resogun and Contrast. And Resogun turned out to be one of the best PlayStation 4 games, I still think, to this day.
I 100% agree with you. That was one of the reasons I got the PlayStation 4 was for Resogun at launch, and not disappointed in the slightest. That game is phenomenal to this day.
After having it on PS4 for a little bit, they modified the service and they made sure that you were getting 2 PS4 games, 2 PS3 games, and 2 PS Vita games. But as Cozy had mentioned, if they were cross-buy games, you'll get them on all those platforms. So there's a chance some months you'll get 4 or 5, and if you got really lucky, 6 PS4 games that you were able to play. So that was really cool. In March 2019, they discontinued the PS3 and Vita games. So we started to see a bit of a decline in what we're getting there. Now they did, I will give Sony credit. They gave a year's notice on the discontinuation of that, but I'm shocked that PSVR was not added to that lineup. I think there's a wealth of PSVR library that they could do 1 or 2 games a month.
Do you think that's... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say there have been some instances where they've brought out PSVR titles as like a one-off, but it hasn't become a staple of the free game offering from PlayStation Plus, which I would argue, same as you, Nathan, that it's a definite miss.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, do you think that's really like, it's really decreased the value of PS Plus, because it's like you're now like, it's still the same price that you were paying when it did offer these games, and now you're just not getting them. And so go ahead.
I would make the argument, though, that the PS3 and Vita games that you were getting at this point people weren't playing them.
Fair enough.
Like, I think we were really scraping the barrel, like, at this point for the PS3 games. You weren't seeing as many cross-buy options coming through, so you would have to pull your PS3 out or the Vita, and they weren't the same quality that we were getting. So, Mike, I have a question. I'm not sure how much people lost in that regard.
I
but
mean,
definitely,
I just want to say the last 2 PS3 games we got in 2019 were Dive Kick and Metal Gear Solid 4. So not really bottom of the barrel at that point, but I do agree with you. Leading up, like the months leading up to that last month were bare bones.
Yeah. So I think they went out on a bang in that last month, but like it was definitely not what the service had been. But at the same time, you can't continue to sustain when games aren't coming out for PS3 and Vita and continue to be putting those out, especially how many are people using. So there's no backwards compatibility on the PS4. It just would have been good at that point to shift to something like we discussed with PSVR. I do want to highlight some games here. There's a link I have. Mitch, can you throw that in the chat?
Got
the
it.
link. So to date, PS Plus has offered 643 games
Whoa.
over its almost 10-year period. So I've got a list of everyone there now.
You probably
You're
played
gonna
it.
go through every single one. No.
Yeah, it's gonna
And
take
this is
a
going to
while.
be a 6-hour podcast.
So I pulled a few highlights that I quickly pulled from the list when I was going through because it's 643, and I'm sure I've missed some great games. But Shatter was one of the first big great games. Brick Breaker, Infamous 2 was one of your first games. Little Big Planet, Borderlands, Spec Ops: The Line, Demon Souls, Uncharted 3, Resogun, as we discussed earlier.
I think we've gotten every Uncharted game at this point, haven't we?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
several times because they've done the collection as well, which I'll come up to. Rocket League was a big hit, and that was something that launched on PS Plus. And that's something where they were doing that initially early in the PS4's life, where new games would debut on PS Plus.
Yeah.
And that
Which I
really
think was really smart.
It was, and I think that kind of stopped at Rocket League. I think it happened a few times, but then as the library built up, they started to rely more on the back library, and probably cheaper too. But Injustice: Gods Among Us, Tales from the Borderlands, I wouldn't have played Tales from the Borderlands if it was for PS Plus.
Was this when it came out? Was it when it was completed and you could play all 5
Yes.
episodes? Okay.
The entire thing?
It was well after the season had finished.
Yeah, Tales from the Borderlands is my favorite. Not only Borderlands game, it's my favorite Telltale game too. I think it's phenomenal. Knack, I know people hate on Knack, but I actually think Knack's a good game. So my kids really love it.
no bugs in it.
Bloodborne, I'm not a big Bloodborne guy, but I know people love that. Ratchet and Clank's 2016.
So I wouldn't have tried Bloodborne without it being on PlayStation Plus, and I got about 15 minutes into it. So I'm glad it was on PlayStation Plus, because if I had paid money for that and not gotten into it the way I know a number of other people do, I would have felt really bad.
Yeah. I felt if I paid money for it, I would have had to keep playing it, and I don't know how it would have felt. You got the entire Quantum Dream games, Beyond Souls, and then they did Detroit Become Human, and what's the other one?
Heavy Rain.
Heavy Rain was the following month. The Borderlands, the Handsome Collection was free on it. The Last of Us Remastered, the Nathan Drake Collection, Shadow of the Colossus. They've really hit hard with a lot of their first-party titles.
You're missing the most important PS Plus game we've ever gotten, and that's PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale.
Oh, that is a great game. It's a fantastic game. Yeah, so please play that. I want a sequel.
So can I quickly highlight my two favorite months in the entirety of PlayStation Plus were actually May of 2015 and June of 2015. So these 2 months, there were almost no big AAA first party games, but almost every single one I enjoyed in some fashion. May we had Guacamelee 1, Ether 1, which is like a adventure game, not as good but decent. The Unfinished Swan, Race the Sun, which is like this. I mean,
Infinite
I feel like
Runner
it's
almost.
Yeah, on the Vita. Hohokam, which is like a weird indie art game. Murasaki Baby, which is like a indie art platformer. And then June, we had Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. We had Skulls of the Shogun, which is by far, I think, one of the most underrated indie games I've played in the past couple of years. Cloudberry Kingdom, which was okay. Call of Juarez Gunslinger for the PlayStation 3, which was shockingly good. And then Super Exploding Zoo, which was fine, and Futuridium EP Deluxe, which was also fine. So not every game in that selection was fantastic, but the standouts really stood out.
And I think that was where you were in like the heyday of PlayStation Plus games, because the month after that you had Rocket League. The month after that you got Limbo. After you had things like let me just quickly look through the list a little bit. Super Time Force Ultra, which was really cool. Super Meat Boy, Broken Age, the second season of The Walking Dead by Telltale Games.
Was so good.
Like there's a lot of really good stuff in there around 2015, 2016.
Well, and if you want to talk the best, I still think the best month, and I already put the games on here, but Bloodborne and Ratchet and Clank were the same month.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
So my question is, with all of this praise of being like these are like These are like the games that we've gotten, and these are like really solid, amazing games. Why are we doing a rehab for the service? Like, what do you guys think needs to improve with it?
So I think it's lost some value in terms of, obviously you're now down to 2 games where you were at 6. I think part of the rehab part is the PSVR component, and they need to really look at that. I'm shocked it hasn't become a thing. They occasionally throw the one-offs out there, it's not been frequent enough.
Do you think it'll be a thing when PlayStation 5 comes out? Like, do you think that they're going to start trying to increase the value of it? Like,
if they listen to this podcast, they will absolutely put all of our ideas into motion.
As well, do you think day one PlayStation 5 games are going to be on PlayStation Plus?
Yes.
You would
see. I don't think they will.
They did it with PS4 though, didn't they?
Yeah, Resogun and Contrast were like the day they came out, you were able to play those 2 games.
I feel like we have a different PlayStation in 2020 than we had in 2015 or 2014. Remind me when that came? 2014? 13. Jesus Christ, I'm old. I feel like Sony is going to rest on their laurels here of, oh, well, you can play PS4 games on your PS5, so we'll give you PS4 games and it'll be fine, right? And it won't be. Unless those games are absolutely
they'll pull a Don Matrick Xbox One.
And that's my device concern for you.
We have
you can't afford a PlayStation 5.
360. Yeah. What needs to be improved? And I think Xbox right now, when it comes to Game Pass and everything, they're killing it. Like you mentioned off the top that it at the beginning of PlayStation Plus, it felt kind of like what Game Pass feels like now. But okay, so with Xbox Game Pass, like what there's 2 ways to have Game Pass. You can just get Game Pass, right, which I believe is like a $15 subscription for us, monthly or whatever. But they also offered the ability at no extra charge to change your, instead of having 2 separate subscriptions, one for Xbox Live Gold, which gets you free games like PlayStation Plus, but also the Game Pass included, that rather than having 2 separate subscriptions, the Game Pass Ultimate subscription, which is both things, and that gets you access to the couple of hundred games that are in Game Pass every month. And so looking through this whole list of games, imagine if, like, let's say you missed a couple months of these. Imagine through a Game Pass like service, you could still go and play them if you missed it.
So do you think
to your account?
So like with this hypothetical, do you think then they would combine PlayStation Plus with PlayStation Now?
I think that's probably the smartest option moving forward. Like, they need to do something in that regard.
Something needs to happen to PlayStation Now. From everything I'm to understand, it's actually a good service now.
Recently,
the technology works.
Recently, they've been talking about their numbers, and they've gotten like, I think it's like 1 million subscribers for PlayStation Now.
Something like that.
Yeah,
it's big.
I think
we're in line to grow.
Yeah, I think we're in line for a serious rebrand of PlayStation Now going into next generation, where it will be PlayStation Plus Ultimate that comes with this access to this library of games you can just stream or play at any time. I think that's definitely a part of it. And the other thing to look at from just PlayStation Plus is it is no longer about just the free games, right?
No.
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting your cloud backup, you're getting
it's true.
Your your online play, which I think is the dumbest fucking thing in 2020 that Xbox, Sony, and now Nintendo are all doing for no fucking reason.
Microsoft started this trend, and then Sony and Nintendo saw it and were like, we want to make free money as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, is there a cost to the servers? Because that's what I always
there is, but it's not enough for $60 a month. Like,
well, it's $60
a year. That's what I meant.
So it's not that it's breaking. Like we're crunching numbers here, and you're paying less for this than you're paying for Netflix, right? So it's not like it's not breaking the bank by any stretch, but it does feel like over time we've gotten less for paying the same amount, or at least in Canada, actually, we're paying more now than we did at the start of the PlayStation generation for the PS4 because of the dollar. So it might be that it's just impacting us more because we're not noticing that. Like, we're noticing it costing more for less service, but in some places it's not really changing in price. so maybe they don't feel it as much. But something's got to give when it comes to what PlayStation is offering in terms of their services, PlayStation Plus included.
The discounts don't feel as great as they used to either, do they? Or is that just me?
I don't know if I've ever actually like paid attention to the discounts in either of these services. Like it's always been about the free games. So maybe in that regard they do need to kind of like offer more of a discount in some things to kind of justify that for me, because it's just not something I paid attention to.
So allow me to float some ideas. First idea I want to float around. Do you think that maybe they could tie certain non-gaming features into PlayStation Plus? So we go into the PlayStation 5 generation. Internet, like playing games online, is now free. It doesn't cost PlayStation Plus. But say if you want to access certain streaming functionalities, or if you want to increase how much of the past time that you spent gaming is captured and that you can share afterwards, you have to subscribe to PlayStation Plus. So like maybe without PlayStation Plus, it will only save an hour of your past footage, but with PlayStation Plus, it's 5 hours.
I don't know how. I think there would be a bit of a revolt against that, even though you're getting the online free, which.
But it is also one of those things where like it's not like everybody uses that kind of stuff.
No,
like it
it
is just niche.
You're right.
It is just niche enough that like I can see that niche being like, all right, I'll invest in it because I really care about this.
Yeah, I don't think that niche is large enough that it warrants reworking the way the service is being offered as it is today. I honestly think we get to next gen and nothing changes with PS Plus, except that they market the fact that you can play your PS4 library on your PS5.
Mm-hmm. If things don't change too much and we are only getting a small drip feed of new games, second idea I want to float around, how do we feel about Sony letting people vote on what games they get to play in some capacity? Because it has been in the past where they haven't let people vote on them, but there was that one PlayStation time where basically they said, hey, these are the 2 PS Plus games for this month. People said, no, we don't like this. And so like, all right, we're going to swap out one of them.
Yeah, it was Pro Evolution. It was last year. It was Pro Evolution Soccer, and then they replaced it with Detroit. If I'm not mistaken.
I feel like if we go back and far enough, I feel like there used to be a voting component to the PlayStation blog's announcement of PS Plus games. Or is this Mandela?
I don't think so.
Am I Mandela affecting myself? I feel like I might be.
Maybe you're thinking because the PlayStation blog does regular voting for Game of the Month.
No, this was like way, way back, like the beginnings of PS Plus, but I'm probably totally wrong.
I don't think so. One of the problems with PlayStation Plus in terms of trying to do a voting system is the money deals and working the contracts out. And it's hard to say, well, we'll only give you the money if your game wins.
I mean, they could make it so that like 3 games come out each month. 2 of the games are pre-decided, and the third one is the voted upon one.
Or maybe it is that the whatever loses that vote ends up being a free game for next month. Like it's not, it will come eventually. Those contracts can still be written up, and just the release cadence of it can be decided upon contractually between Sony and their publishing partners.
That's not a bad way to go. Like I feel like Mitch said, I think part of it is the branding with PS Now and figuring out what that service looks like in a combination. Potentially, and then you get everything. I think PS Now needs a new name so that they can refresh the launch of it.
Yeah, that's why when I said have something similar to Game Pass Ultimate that invokes both Gold and Game Pass, I called it PS Plus Ultimate, not PlayStation Now Ultimate, because PS Plus is the brand people know and the brand people go out and invest in. PS Now is this thing that at least those in the gaming sphere know it was a failure at launch when they acquired Gaikai and launched PlayStation Now. And I've heard that it has improved immensely in terms of being able to download games and not have to stream them. But
what was sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I was just going to say, I tried PS Now. I streamed Ratchet and Clank all for one, and it was atrocious, and I never went back.
What was the PS5 wording for their phrase? It's not greatness awaits. It was play has no limits.
Yeah, no limit thing. I'll look it up, but keep it up.
What about PlayStation Plus no limits?
I think it's a little wordy.
Yeah.
PlayStation Limitless. PlayStation
So
forever.
it's play has no limits.
Play has no limits.
What if it's like PlayStation Play Pass?
I feel like they're aping too much on Microsoft with like, I know it's
cares?
different, but like it's
different
just-
enough.
I just feel like it's too similar that they want to differentiate themselves, even if it is essentially the same services.
PlayStation Now is in the past, so let's go with PlayStation then.
PlayStation Future.
Future? I was gonna say future's probably the right way to go.
Play anywhere.
I feel like we could just
no, that's
keep
somebody
saying,
else.
That's the
we could
Xbox
just we could just keep saying words, and eventually one of us will be right.
So Sony
PlayStation
executives listening. We'll figure this out. Keep listening.
Be sure to forward this audio to them specifically because they need to hear this.
Okay.
Yes.
Get it to Andy House or
I'll send it
Sean
to Adam
Layden.
Boys. I know he doesn't work there anymore, but he's got
Yeah,
connections.
Geo Corsi also doesn't work there, but send it to him anyway. And
I'll send it to
hashtag
Sean
Golden
Layden
Goal.
as well. You know,
Yeah, Sean
we'll just
Layden.
send it
That's
to
what
all the
Nathan
people
said,
who
yeah.
don't work at
Who
Sony
else?
anymore.
Send it to the
And
people at
they'll probably
Nintendo.
agree with us that the branding is off and they need to fix it.
They
I was
know
gonna
people.
say, send it to the people at Nintendo. They used to work with Sony back in the day. The
Yeah,
Nintendo
Sony did
PlayStation
well.
deal
While we're
almost
at it,
worked
how
out.
about Kevin Butler?
Oh yeah.
Oh. If there's one thing that can happen with the PS5, it'd be
Bring back
Kevin
Kevin
Butler
Butler.
back. Bring back
Yeah.
Kevin Butler.
Send
Hashtag-
it to the guy in the Crash Bandicoot mascot costume.
Yeah.
Who here is not getting a PS5 at launch?
Undecided.
Okay, so it doesn't really matter what they do at this point. We're all going to buy it anyway. So whatever the service is, we're going to pay for it. We just got to hope from a consumer perspective that it's better than what they're offering now. Or
It
at
almost
the
feels-
very least, don't make it any worse.
They're the market leaders right now, and I think what it comes down to is they don't need to do much. They're
Yeah,
gonna
they probably won't.
and they don't need to do much this gen, and that's like I think going forward, there was a soft spot because last gen when we switched over, there was no backwards compatibility on either system at the launch period. So there was a point where you could switch your systems because it didn't matter because there was no backwards compatibility, and you could jump ecosystems. This
yeah,
time, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no. Ryan McCaffrey of IGN called out PlayStation for this. It was a quote where they said something like they're prioritizing. They believe their consumers will also be like
Oh yes, I think I
prioritizing
saw this.
value over cost or something like that. And,
And he
like
was wondering
Ryan
if-
McCaffrey called them out and just said something along the lines of, "Is this like the 2020 version of what is it of the you'll get a second job like what happened at the PS3 conference?
Mhm.
You'll get a second job to pay $600 for a PS3 because it's so good."
Yeah, and then also seeing Phil Spencer throw shade, be like, after seeing the PlayStation presentation, we feel like we're in a good spot with what we're going to show off in July. Like,
Yeah.
I love the shade that we're seeing, but ultimately, we know Microsoft for their services, we know Sony for the first-party games, and Sony's really got to bring their A game when it comes to services next
Yeah.
gen.
This is Sony's game to lose. And
Yes.
Microsoft has to be the one to make all the moves. If Sony kind of just stays the course, then they'll be fine.
Yeah, and that's the honest truth. People are going to stay where their ecosystem is, I think, this time.
Yeah.
A lot of
Unless
ways.
Microsoft does something that's like you just can't look away from it. Like it has to be really compelling where Sony can just kind of keep doing what they're doing because what
Yeah.
they're doing is pretty good.
Yep. They've been doing, and their with their new PS5 thing was great, and it's going to bring people. But we're going to wrap this segment up. I appreciate you guys coming through on the rehab wagon with me.
PlayStation Plus, you have
Always.
been rehabilitated.
Well, it remains to be seen if it's going to go to rehab or say no.
I want to say, I think that this segment should be renamed Rehab Wagon. I think that's a great name.
I'm a little more. I like PlayStation or video game rehab more, but we can talk about
I
that.
don't know.
Yeah. Whatever.
So let's wrap this up. Next time we have nothing planned.
I'm
We
not
have
gonna
5x5.
I'm not going to be here next week, so y'all are going to have to run this ship, and it's going to be fun to watch.
It'll be shit on Mitch week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
next weekend
Yeah.
next week we record on Canada Day, July 1st, and I have plans, which means I won't be here, but I'll
You
probably
have
be
a
in
lame
chat.
family that you're
I'm sorry, I
seeing.
have a family and
So-
That's
vacation
overrated.
days.
It's allowed. You can go see your family. It's fine.
Yeah,
So we're
to
going
an
to do a
extent.
5x5 about Mitch's worst moments.
Yeah.
You're not going
I
to
like
find
this
enough to
idea.
fill the list.
I mean, we'll just have too many. We'll need to
We
make it
all
a top
suck.
20 list.
Oh,
Why do
so
I still host this show with you guys? Like, I feel attacked.
let's go around and plug our socials. Alex.
So Instagram, I am blatantly Alex. Where if you want to see my haircut in the upcoming week, that is where it's going to be posted. I'm so excited. Twitter is blatantly_Alex, and also YouTube. I'll eventually make a new video, blatantly Alex.
Perfect. Cozy.
Find me on Twitter at AlexZina and tune into twitch.tv/CozyBearLive to watch me play some more of Apex's Armed and Dangerous Evolved mode.
No more Pokemon?
I'm still going to be playing that in the future. I think tonight I'm just going to keep it at Apex and God of War.
That's fair.
Mitch.
I'm everywhere at Mr. Mitch George. That's MR Mitch George.
And as a reminder, next week will be Mitch free, so feel free to tune in for all those people who left because of him. AJ.
you can find me all over the internet, Twitter, Instagram, all those things. At Times Hero, capital T, capital H.
Perfect. You can follow me at _NMAC on Twitter. You can see pictures of my new computer if you want to check that out. I had a lot of fun building it. Follow me on ps4blog.net for reviews that I'm doing. And once again, thanks for playing. Please be better. Bye, guys.
Hashtag Mitch sucks.
Goodbye, everybody.
We're just talking about abuse.